What is up, guys? Nerd Season. Today we are talking about Invincible. So, you know what? The new season's dropping in like 5 days, the first 3 episodes. Super excited about it. So I figured it's time. Let's make a video talking about how great Invincible is. So what sets it apart? Why I think it's probably the best superhero TV show out right now. Everyone loves superhero stories. This has been pretty widespread through our culture this day and age. But if we're being honest, a lot of them have started to feel redundant, the same. It's the same plot, arc, and so on. Big CGI fight, predictable hero moment. Villain shows up, gets punched, the world is saved. And a lot of times, if it's a team up one, the power of friendship conquers all. But then there's Invincible. All right. And right now, it might be the best superhero show being made. I think it is, but I could understand why some might argue different. And it's not because it's violent, and it's definitely not because it's animated, because I think that deters some people, the animation style and so on. But because the reason why is because it understands something most superhero stories forget, and it's that actions have consequences. I think this was something that with the Thanos arc of the MCU, that the actions had consequences was really played out and why it did so well. But Invincible holds true to this all the way through. One of my biggest problems with modern superhero stories is that they feel safe. The good guy wins majority of the time, like 100% of the time, just about. Which is why I think Thanos snap, that was such a amazing ending to that movie, because the villain actually won. All right. And heroes punch each other through buildings, and somehow nobody really gets hurt in most of these movies. There's always a save the day, and everybody kind of lives. There might be some deaths here and there, but ultimately they're not as impactful as they should be. And Invincible doesn't work like that. When people with God-level strength fight in the Invincible universe, people die, cities get destroyed, and characters carry those scars, and the world around them reacts to it. When Omni-Man fights the Guardians of the Globe in Season 1, the show immediately tells you this is not a safe place. The world is not safe. And that moment changed the tone of superhero telling overnight, in my opinion. You realize that in this universe, strength isn't just impressive, it's terrifying, which I think is what they always go for with like the Superman aspect and even the Avengers, when they're trying to say like having these people with these abilities is not the safest, though they choose to save the day. It really is a terrifying thing if it happened in our world today. Another reason why Invincible, I think, works so well is the characters. I mean, at the center of the story is Mark Grayson, who is Invincible. And it's interesting because Mark isn't, it's not just that he's powerful, it's that he's learning, and he's actually learning the process of his powers, what it is to be a hero, the pressures of it, battling with the culture and world around him, kind of basically saying that he's dangerous because of Omni-Man. He makes mistakes, he loses fights, he questions what it means to be a hero. And I think a lot of other movies and shows try to tell us that story arc for the heroes, but ultimately I don't think they do it that well. His relationship with his father and Omni-Man is also one of the most compelling story dynamics, I think, in storytelling in general, let alone superhero storytelling. Because Omni-Man isn't just a villain, he's his father, he a warrior, a conqueror, and the conflict between those identities makes the story more complicated than the typical good versus evil fight. Because I think there is absolute truth in this world, but when you're creating worlds, sure, it could be subjective, and there's a battle between right and wrong, and there's a scale to it. It's not always black and white. It's a little bit gray. Another thing Invincible does really well is world building, because it starts off with Mark discovering his powers and on Earth, and it's just this very simple story, but very quickly, but not rushed, the universe becomes massive. I mean, there's alien civilizations, the secret government agencies, interdimensional threats, an entire race known as the Viltrumites. I mean, the whole thing doesn't just dump that on you in a way that makes it overwhelming. It reveals it slowly throughout the storytelling, and it makes it feel amazing without just dumping a whole bunch of stuff on you. I mean, characters like Battle Beast, who's incredible, and the cosmic threats remind you that the Earth is just a tiny piece of a much bigger universe. Again, we get that in some other storytelling in superhero TV shows or movies and characters, but it's not done as well or with the impact that Invincible does. The scale makes everything feel way more epic, in my opinion. The other part is the superhero fights are supposed to be exciting, like superhero fights in movies are supposed to be exciting, and though some of them can be entertaining and action-packed, they don't feel like they have an impact or that there's a lot at stake. We kind of know the trope and the arc that the superheroes early on in a fight are going to either lose and then bounce back at the end and win, or they're going to win, but it was just a little too easy. So now we got to figure out, why was it too easy? That's it. But it doesn't, it just is there for dopamine release, and there's no real stakes to fights. Sometimes there are. I'm not saying there never is, but very seldom is there. And Invincible fixes that. When characters fight in the show, it's brutal, but more importantly, it matters to the story. There's very few fights that don't have something to do with an overall impact in the story. And even if a fight seems that way early on, it eventually reveals that it had something major to do with the plot. And every major battle changes the characters that are involved or surrounding it, or characters that you don't see, and then later characters pop up that were affected by that battle in the long run. Mark doesn't walk away stronger and smiling and getting the girl and kissing her in the end, though he, gets the girl and so on. But he's always broken. He's questioning himself and trying to understand what kind of hero he wants to be. He's torn. And it's an amazing emotional arc. And the emotional weight is what separates Invincible from a lot of superhero stories currently being told. Last but not least, one of the reasons why I think this is incredible in its storytelling and the way that it is that it respects the comic fans. It's a huge reason that it respects the source material. I've heard a lot of people say the comics are obviously better than the show, but the show does stay pretty true. I mean, the original comic created by Robert Kirkman with Otley, Cory Walker is one of the best superhero runs ever written. I don't think anybody would disagree with that aspect. And instead of watering it down for the screen, the show embraces what made the comic special. Long character arcs, huge consequences, and a story that evolves over time. There isn't just this end. I mean, there's an end to it, but there's not just a finality, and now we got a reboot. It's not that. And for comic fans, people that hold fast to that and been reading it since the beginning, it's honestly probably one of the best adaptations we've gotten from comic to big screen. So superhero stories aren't going anywhere, but the ones that stand out are the ones that take risks. And obviously when you take risks, they can be received well or very bad. And Invincible takes risks with the brutality, the emotionality, and it reminds us that superheroes aren't just symbols, that they're people trying to live up to impossible expectations. And within that, the superhero is a person with their own mental health, essentially, where they're battling things within their own mind, and it explores that extremely well. And that's why right now, Invincible, I think, is the best superhero show being made. And I think even if you stacked it up against some of the superhero movies that have come out, I think it stacks up with them in some of the best ways possible and beats out a lot of them. So if you're going to be watching Invincible, what are you looking forward to? The new season's dropping in, like I said, 5 days from now. What characters are you looking forward to? What fights? What things are you looking forward to in all of this? What resolutions? Just let me know in the comments down below. And if you enjoy superhero content, comics, nerd culture, all that good stuff, movies, all that, make sure you subscribe to the channel, Nerd Season here, because we've got a lot more coming. I try to Monday, Wednesday, Friday have videos out for you guys. This week, it's been busy. This is the side hustle for me, so it's not the main thing, but I try my best to have that upload schedule. But please, by all means, subscribe, turn on that notification bell, and let me know what you think in the comments down below. We'll catch y'all later. See ya.